Hello and welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? I really appreciate you guys joining me for today's video podcast. You know how I like to always get my video podcasts always started with a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers and for those of you who are still in the struggle. So if you would, please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All righty, well, let's get started. Man, how's it going? It's a great day today. I'm feeling great. I mean, it's a great day to be alive, a great day in recovery, another great day of spirituality, positivity is just awesome. But I guess what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about today is something that kind of I caught myself doing, and it was showing gratitude, being grateful for something. And I had shared this earlier today in a peer support group that I attended, and it was you know, Easter weekend just had passed or whatever, and I can remember that I got home that night and I sat down and just reflected on the day and just kind of went through scenarios of things that I went through, people that I interacted with, and how the whole holiday went. And it was just awesome to rewind the tape, if you will, because I know that when I was in the addiction, man, I would go to you know, holidays would come up, I'd go to family functions and that sort of thing, and what I would catch, I remember catching myself, I started thinking, I said, well, what did I do back then? And I could always remember being mindful of the time, because if I could just stay there for an hour, then that was my cue to exit. I could just go back, because I couldn't be there all day at this function and interact and have a good time, because I was bound down by the struggles of addiction. And I could remember saying, okay, if I could just get through an hour, then I'm good. Then that's enough for me to say, okay, well, I gotta go. You know, I got another place I gotta get to, or somebody invited me to do this. But there was always an excuse, but for me to get out of there and go back to the addiction, and that's what I did. You know what I mean? That was my just my normal thing of doing when I was in the addiction. And man, to be able to sit down and to reflect on the day and being able to remember it and remembering the good parts of the day, because they were all good parts. You know what I mean? And I was just like, man, I'm just so grateful that I was able to take time and just be grateful that I was having this food and having, you know, conversations with my little grandkids and my daughters and just, you know, everybody who was there. You know what I mean? And just to do something and remember it and to just reflect on it, and how beautiful and how good it felt to do that was just amazing to me. And I just wanted to, you know, bring that up as a topic, is being grateful, because, you know, how many times have any of us, or how many times do we, you know, it takes a little bit or a lot of it to reflect on stuff, or how many times do we even do that when we're caught up in everyday hustle, you know, going to work, getting the kids to school, you know, and even worse if you're bound down by an addiction or dealing with, you know, something like you want to lose weight, or dealing with anger, or dealing with depression, or dealing with PTSDs, or dealing with childhood traumatic experiences, and how that navigates your life. And, you know, just in all of this chaos that we're environmental toxic things that we do and that we involve ourselves with, is, you know, how many times do we stop and take a little time out to just to reflect on the things that you're grateful for, and you'll find that that hardly ever happens. And you'll find that if you do take time to reflect on that and be grateful for the things that you're doing in your life that are positive, you'll see that when you do something like that, you start getting more positive things onto that. And what I've been doing here of late is something that I wanted to share with you guys. I've been journaling, and I've been journaling things that I'm grateful throughout my day. And I'm just going to read to you for an example. Like today, since I've woke up this morning, I've journaled up until this point that I'm doing the podcast, things that I was grateful for throughout the day so far. And the first thing I got written down is, I am grateful that I read some of the book Everyday Dharma by Sunil Gupta. And the next thing I wrote down is, I am grateful that I was able to attend my peer support group sponsored by the VA at the Northwest VA Clinic. And the next thing that I wrote down is, I am grateful that I had an Uber ride to go to my peer support group. I was grateful that I was able to obtain an Uber ride for that. And the last thing I wrote down is, I am grateful for my daughter Zoe that gave me the bus pass to ride the bus today to school. And I was on my way to school to do some tutoring and getting caught up on some stuff. And I decided that, I'm going to do the video podcast now before I go do that, so that I can, that's one of my goals of the day, is that I got to do my video podcast. So that's what I'm doing here. And I ride public transportation, and I didn't have a bus pass. My bus pass had expired. I was explaining that to my daughter, that I got to go get another bus pass. So she gave me the one that she had. So I was grateful that she was able to do that, and that got me to get on the bus, and now I'm here doing the video podcast. And one of my things, just to kind of veer off topic just a little bit, is I like to choose backgrounds for my videos, and today I've chosen the best background in the world, to me anyway, and that's the beautiful skies. Just the I like to call this God's video podcast background, you know what I mean, because it's the heavens. And so I figured I'd choose that today. And but anyway, to get back on topic about being grateful, I started, in that book that I was reading, by Sunil Gupta, the Everyday Dharma. There's a story in there that talks about the being grateful and that sort of thing. So that's why I kind of chose that topic today, because I had read that earlier this morning, and then started thinking. I was like, man, you know what? That's one of the things that I'm doing is reflecting on being grateful and journaling those things, because it's something that I can just go back to whenever I'm get into a I guess pause or an obstacle of my life, because everyday life isn't going to be all the way positive and all the way happy and roses, right? There's always going to be adversity. There's always going to be difficulty. There's always going to be this thing that you're going to have to, move past. Whether it's, you're someone making you mad, or something that you don't like, arises, or you have trouble at work, or somebody cuts you off in traffic, whatever it is, you know what I mean? If you take a moment to reflect on the things that are good and are positive, and those sorts of things in your life, is always kind of, for me, it kind of grounds me down, and it brings me back to reminds me of, okay, you got goals that you're trying to attain. You got this pathway that you're trying to live by, and when I'm grateful, it kind of makes me aware and mindful of the things that I'm doing. And it keeps me on track, you know what I mean? So if I start veering off a little bit with my thought processes or whatever, because we live in a toxic environment, you know what I mean? And anything and everything from picking up your phone to turning on the TV to even riding the bus like I do, you know what I mean? There's always issues going on, and just to give you an example, I was riding the bus the other night back to the house after school, and there were some people there's this little area that we go by, and there's people who are, you could tell, or what they're doing there. And because I've been there in that area before, buying paraphernalia, whatever, right? And it just was a trigger. It kind of reminded me, oh wow, yeah, and it just something that just pops up right there as I'm going home, and then my mind starts going. You know what I mean? My addictive mind started, revving up a little bit, and I had to, bring myself back into alignment with my energy fields and my and back to my map of life that I'm trying to live by, and I'm just grateful that I'm able to be aware of those things and to and to do something about it, and to do something about it in a positive way and not in a negative way. Because if I was still back in the world of addiction and that would have happened, I would have went by a store like that and got triggered by, I know what they sell there or whatever, and I would immediately pull in, got something, and went and did some drugs or whatever, you know what I mean? It would have been a totally different scenario, and versus me bringing myself back and understanding where my life is going, what I want out of life, what my goals are, what it reminds me automatically of what I'm doing, and what I don't want to go back to, because it also triggers those last days of addiction that I could remember, which were the worst, because I was just unhealthy and just doing drugs every day, and just in this whole life cycle of just chaos that I was just screaming my head off, but no one can hear me. And I was trying, I wanted change, but I was too bound down to the stronghold that I couldn't see even in front of me. If there was something good in front of me, I wouldn't have been able to notice it, because I was just too, the drug addiction was that bad, you know what I mean? And I'm just grateful that I'm able to be here today in the here and now, clean, and being able to share a story that could be encouraging for somebody else, because I know that I sat in a room one day and heard an encouraging story that helped me to move forward in my life to a different realm, something that was positive, something that was spiritual, something that was just creative and just beautiful, you know what I mean? And that's my life today. Today my life is full of positive, encouraging, and spiritual things that I involve myself in and that I'm doing today. And it's just great. I don't know how else to explain the feeling, but the feeling, it just feels, it's just this feeling of just calmness and loving and spiritual, and just, I know deep down in my heart and soul that I'm on the right path. And that's the beauty of it, is that, you taking time to, even if it's just 4 or 5 minutes out of your day, and I find myself doing this now, 4, 5, 6 times a day. You know what I mean? Every time I start feeling a little sluggish, or my mind starts wandering off into this other, other thought processes that aren't good, and, I know I can bring myself back, and I do, and I'm just grateful that I'm able to be aware of those things, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, that maybe it's something that you could put into your life and practice it and just try it. You know what I mean? Try it for a week and see what happens. See how that changes your mindset. See how that changes your day. You know, take a little time to be grateful and reflect on your day, and what is it of part of that day that you were grateful for. And then ask yourself, did any of my things that I did today, did any of the things I do today, were they productive? Were they getting me closer to a goal that I want to reach? Or was it just a wasted day? Did I just do nothing? You know what I mean? Because when you find yourself noting that there's a lot of negativity, or that you're not doing anything, then it's a light bulb, and you're aware that, okay, I need to do something now. And perhaps just being grateful and taking time to think about that for 5 minutes out of your day is a good, starting point. And like I was doing, I like to carry a little notebook around, and I journal the things that I'm grateful for, or if I hear something in a podcast that was encouraging, I'll write it down so that I can remember it and perhaps use it in my own life. Or if I hear somebody talking and they say something encouraging that motivates me, then I'll journal that down. And it's just good to write things down that you can, at the end of your day, go back to and reflect on, and then just think, okay, how can I use any of this stuff in my life to encourage me and to move me forward in attaining goals, into helping somebody. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to share that with you guys today, and so that I could I got a busy day today. I gotta go finish. I gotta go to school here in a couple of more minutes, and do some tutoring, and then go to my night classes that I attend. And I'm looking forward to it, because it's learning. You know what I mean? And so it's positive. So like I've mentioned before, when I was in the world of addiction, everything I did, my whole day consisted of negative things. I didn't do anything positive in my day, except for probably eating, and that probably wasn't even positive, because I was just eating junk. You know what I mean? So it's just great to be able to realize the things that I'm doing today are positive, and it's just a 360-degree change. I mean, I had to change people, places, and things from when I was in the addiction, and now I'm doing totally the opposite, and it's just a great feeling. And it's just something that I wanted to share with you guys, because I believe that sharing the message can help somebody else, because it has helped me. By somebody shared the message somewhere way back when, and that led me to sharing a message also, and to getting clean, you know what I mean, and to finding myself and finding my spiritual journey. And I'm just grateful, and I pray that you also can do the same. That you find yourself and find a new journey in your life that's going to be positive and spiritual, and have positive karma and spirituality and wisdom. And I guess that's going to be it for the message for today and for my video podcast. So if you would please, man, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Just know that when you do hit that subscribe button, that you'll be helping out another veteran, another person dealing with homelessness, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, another person dealing with depression, suicidal thoughts, sadness, and anger, because I myself have been through all of those things and dealt with all of those things, and I'm still dealing with them. And but just by the grace of God and by the grace of my higher power, that I'm able to be grateful and live a different life today than I was when I was in the addiction. So again, please share my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.